that are working at home and working in other difficult circumstances. We ask that you'll bless all of us as we move forward. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. The April 16th public meeting of the Board of Washington County Commissioners. We will start out with the approval of the agenda. Seeing no additions, gentlemen, what say?
Move to approve the agenda.
Seconded.
Any discussions on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is the approval of the previous meeting minutes.
Move to approve the minutes and waive the reading.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now the bills from the various departments totaling approximately $279,000 for the week. Board,
Move to approve paying the bills.
Seconded.
is there any discussion on any or all of the bills? Hearing signify by saying aye to pay the bills.
Aye.
Aye. We have a request from the auditor, a resolution to create a new fund for opioid response.
Move to approve the auditor's request to create a new response.
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion on this?
So the mini grant coming in for behavioral health, we have to create a fund to house that money.
Hearing no other information, all in favor of creating the fund, signify by saying aye.
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 It's $11,000.
Well, that's next. We have next three additional appropriations. One of them is for the behavioral health contract services of $11,000, which is the mini grant that they're receiving. We also have a appropriation for Family and Children First, a total of $2,634.59 for contract services for direct services. And then finally, we have the additional appropriation from the prosecutor out of a 200 line item for other expenses, $30,000, finding it there for the Matrix program, or at least partial payment for those. So those three appropriations.
Move to approve the additional appropriations.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any further discussion on these appropriations? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving forward into our transfers. So we have a list of transfer. Here's the first one is from the Veterans Administration to transfer $20,000 from relief allowance line item over to COVID-19 expenses.
Move to approve.
Second that.
Any discussion on that?
It seemed a little odd to me at first that there would be 20,000 COVID expenses, and then I did some follow-up, spoke to the board of the Veterans Board, and through my conversation realized that it's following the protocol of tracking the COVID expenses. They put this, they're transferring this into a special line item so they can track the expenses in case there are reimbursements that come down later on. It'll be easier to track what the extra expenses are from a line item. So it's following the recommendation of the auditor to put these into special line items. And so after that explanation, it didn't quite seem so odd.
Hearing no further information, all in favor of this particular transfer, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We also have another transfer from the Veterans Administration from a different line item called other expenses for the amount of $300 to also be transferred into the COVID-19.
And we approve that one as well. With the same explanation.
Second. Did you call for a vote?
No, I have to have a second first.
I'm sorry, second.
There you go. Any further discussion on this transfer? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving to the next transfer, this is from Family and Children First. There we go. No.
So that's all right.
Behavioral Law Library. Law Library is, we're taking from $1,000 from books and putting it into other expenses. How say you on this transfer?
Move to approve that transfer as well.
Seconded.
Any further discussion on this transfer? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Now we're back online in the stack of stuff that I have here. The next transfer is from the Board of Behavioral Health. And they are transferring $9,000 from travel, $727 from supplies, and $4,546 from miscellaneous, which is a total of $14,273 into contract services.
Well, I'll put out a motion to approve and we'll get some more explanation from Mr. Brown here.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
What that is doing is the contract services is with Community Health Improvement Associates, and they are tracking the costs, the separate different like travel, miscellaneous, and any of the other costs, and then they are billing us for that through the contract. So I'm just bumping it up so we can reimburse rather than us paying separate bills ourselves.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the transfer, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have a transfer here from Family and Children First now, $336 from travel into other expenses.
Move to approve the transfer for Family and Children First.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on this transfer? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the final transfer of the morning is from the auditor. And this was $250 from contract services to be placed into the mobile services of the REA, Real Estate Assessment Group. So,
Move to approve the transfer for the auditor.
I'll second that.
any discussion on this one? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we move on to the resolution single page of then and nows for this week. What's the board's pleasure?
I'll move to approve the then and nows.
Seconded.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the then and nows? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we move to the engineers portion of today's meeting. We have a change order number 1 on County Road 4 landslip repair. This change order is in the amount of $6,425.09. The original contract was for $43,573.13, which now, if this change order is approved, would bring the total cost of the Washington County County Road 4 emergency landslip up to $49,998.22.
Move to approve the engineer's change order number 1 for County Road 4 lanes.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and second on this. Any discussion?
It doesn't say final change order. Yes, it does.
At
It
the
does say
top,
final,
yes.
yes. And I was going to say it looks like a final anyway with the added footage, the added. It's largely just a larger slip than the did. It's not unusual. A lot of these slips when we set out to fix them, they slipped further. Typically, they come a little higher than the original bid, but it's the only way we would do it is measure it out at one point, and in the intervening month that takes place or so, we lose more ground, lost more.
Yeah, we had additional rock, additional guardrail bibbing, and additional welding and some additional dead men. So that's where this comes from. So no other discussion. All in favor of approving the change order number 1 and final on this job, signify by saying aye. Aye. And finally, we enter into the annual report for roads and bridges, brought to us by Highway Engineer Roger Wright,
Who is not here.
and he is not here today, so
We have his picture.
yes, we do. And he just wants us to acknowledge that we have received this, but also to accept it. So, gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
Move we accept the engineer's annual report, seconded last year.
And do we have any discussion on this?
Pretty good report, pretty straightforward.
Yes, it is. So, at this point, all in favor of accepting the 2019 County Engineer's Annual Report, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And at this time, we will turn to our guests that are here this morning. Judge Williams, do you have anything for us? Okay. David Brown, the Director of the Behavioral Health Board, is here. Off camera, of course. You can't see him smiling in the back here, practicing at least 6 meters social distancing.
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add. Then we also have the Director of Job and Family Services.
3 things, if I may. The first is a bit embarrassing because I wanted to commend behavioral health, and I wanted to make the board aware. Behavioral health, Board of Behavioral Health under Director Brown's leadership has taken a real lead in making sure that our low-income and at-risk citizens know the resources available. Deputy Director Hillis Hughes has been videoing myself, David Brightbill, Robin Bosian, people to talk about assistance that's available to them, housing, how they can stay in their house, how they can apply for employment insurance, and other things such as mental health, how they can access mental health during this time. Those are recorded, they're posted on the behavioral health website, and through our partnership with WMOA are then played on WMOA. So I would encourage the commissioners, department heads, and anyone there, if you know someone that's in need of services, the Board of Behavioral Health is kind of serving as a repository, even if it isn't something that you would think, hey, that would be something. They're trying to be a one-stop resource for everyone in the county. So there are videos online that you can go and get resources. So a special thank you to the Board of Behavioral Health. Secondly, I wanted to give you an update. As of yesterday, we have supported 108 needy families. These are families that were directly impacted by COVID-19. They lost their jobs, they lost their employment, they weren't receiving their unemployment or their economic impact check yet. We helped 108 needy families to the tune of over $67,000. That money went directly to help families that were impacted by COVID-19, and we continue to look to support them. The last bit is a bit of bad news. I will not have Washington County numbers until next week, but as of yesterday, 855,000 Ohioans had filed an unemployment claim since the beginning of the governor's shutdown. There are approximately 8 million Ohioans of working age, about 8 million Ohioans between the ages of 18 and 65. What that means is a little over 1 in 10 working age Ohioans is out of work. Again, I will not have specific numbers for Washington County until next week. The last numbers that I have for Washington County were that there were 1,900 Washington Countyans out of work. Assuming that statewide number of 1 in 10 adults, working adults, is accurate and works in Washington County, we would be looking at 4,200 unemployed people in Washington County. working age adults. So this is going to have a pretty substantial impact. Again, under your direction, we're continuing to move forward and support these folks. I hope to have specific numbers for Washington County next week, but I want to prepare the board and I think it's going to be a really big number and really bad news next week. Thank you.
Mr. White, do you have anything to add?
Just to tag on that, there are many ancillary sad issues that have come out of this episode. I recently read, this is entirely anecdotal, but I recently read of a person in the area who committed suicide over the loss of business due to this outbreak. So there are ramifications to all this that don't often get reported on, and more than just the health issues.
If I could follow up, Mr. President, on Commissioner White's comment, that's part of the reason why behavioral health, we're very concerned about alcoholism, drug use. We're trying to target individuals that we knew were in recovery that are now, locked into their home. People that we thought we'd help, diagnose mental health issues. So there are some ancillary effects of that, Commissioner, that we concur.
Commissioner Ritter, do you have anything to add? Do we have a question or comment from?
Sort of.
Okay.
Today was the Humane Society's day to be in here, and in light of things, they wanted to send a virtual update of what's going on. If you want me to share that information.
Is it long or?
No.
Okay, well, go ahead. I think go ahead and share that.
Go ahead.
Public to hear that as well.
The population is down significantly, and they continue to remain close to the public, but they're strays in performing adoptions by appointments.
Okay. Thank you for the
That's
update.
short.
I have nothing more to add, so I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll move to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I think this is gonna get
Are we still-
worse.
Are we still on camera?
Yes.